started. Start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Also the vaults. Anyone on Zoom?
Again.
Went out again. All right. Someone is what?
It's emergency transmission.
Good morning already.
Good
Morning. I will open the conversation up to people that are attending by Zoom periodically throughout, as I will periodically throughout the meeting for people that are in attendance. With that, I will open it up for comments, first with Zoom. Any comments? And you, sir? No, okay. Has everyone received the meeting minutes from June 5th?
No, we accept.
A second. I do have comments before we approve that. One, it's a little tough. I think we got them on Friday night. It was a little tough on weekends. I didn't get a chance to review it, so I'm gonna abstain from voting. But I'd like to be more of a summary than it is try to be a word for word recap of what every single person is saying. That's my suggestion. I know, Terry, you were at one time thought we should it should be as is, but I think it's.
I'll go either way.
I just think that
Be easier on Kim.
easier on you, Kim, and also I think we'll be able to get them a little quicker if it's more of a summary than it is a recap, okay? That's my comments. I had a motion, I had a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I abstain. So as everyone notices, we have the ADU law back on the agenda. And the reason for that is I had an issue brought to my attention about the attached ADUs. I reviewed it and brought it to John's attention, and he and I seem to be in disagreement as to what we agreed to and concluded. Therefore, I wanted to put it back on the agenda just to try to put it to bed once and for all. And I think the issue, and John, you correct me if I'm wrong, was our understanding of whether an attached ADU needed to have the maximum of 50% of the gross floor area of the principal dwelling, and whether the attached ADU needed to be 720 square feet or less, or excuse me, 50% or 720, whichever was less. My recollection was that we did not put any criteria on the attached accessory dwelling unit, but John seemed to recall that we did, and I wanted to clarify that, and I'll leave this time to open it up for conversation. John, do I recall that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, several of us recalled, and it was in the minutes, kind of discussed both ways, but as we're going through the draft, changing things, it never got changed, so we assumed that it was the agreement, everybody to keep the attached accessory dwelling units at no more than 50% of the footprint of the home itself. So we're talking about either the interior of the home or whatever's built off the home. So.
Because that's how we talked about our discussions focused around detached, and I don't remember anything coming up about attached.
Yeah, it came up briefly, but
we didn't include it. I don't remember including it in there, so.
We already have it.
Yeah.
So
there was no discussion or change.
Well, we did discuss it. I believe we did discuss it.
something to keep in mind is the way that we have allowed attached accessory apartments, which is what we have called them in the past. now keeps them so that they are, you know, it still looks like a regular single family home from the front, from the outside, but there's basically a smaller complete dwelling unit encapsulated within the house. It keeps it as an accessory single family use to the main single family use. If you were to remove that limit, it would make it become like a duplex. We have different zoning rules for that, different rules for where those are allowed in the town. I don't know if that has different rules for construction, but you know, it wouldn't be an accessory dwelling unit anymore if you allow it to be the same size as the existing home, for example. It would then just be, and it wouldn't be that anymore. So this is the way it was before. And I didn't recall the conversation suggest to change it, but I don't know what it was suggested to change to other than what it already is. But just something to think about.
Yeah, I think the only thing you were gonna change in that definition, as you showed in the draft, was the moving down to the 720, because we had 750 before. And I think our standard now is a minimum of 720, so that was the only change I think I was gonna make to that definition, which applied to the attached units.
What's your point, John? It should be larger? Or you shouldn't all,
I don't think we should put a cap on it.
well, we're talking about
Then they
ADUs.
differentiate between a duplex and a ADU.
Why do we put a cap on the ADU if it's detached?
We didn't,
We do, we didn't.
We should.
Well, 720 square feet, or 50% of the size of the.
Not on the detached.
on the detached or the attached, let's,
Detached.
all right, let's stay on one conversation, well, let's start with the detached then.
Detached, we'd agreed that,
No
let's say
restriction.
you start out with a ranch, let's say you start out with a 1,000 square foot ranch, you want to build a larger home into that. And then that would be the ADU now, and you'd have your principal house, you know, so that was part of that discussion, as I remember, for the detached.
Agreed. Yeah, I think we eliminated the cap.
Yeah.
And for that reason,
Why did you have a duplex? Right, earlier.
well, let's stay with the
Again, that-
detached for a second.
Okay, sorry.
Just want to make sure we have that one wrapped up and then we'll move to the attached. Okay. Does anybody think we should have caps on it?
I think we
Early,
should
I
have
do.
caps on the detached.
And how would you like to see it capped?
I would say 50% of the gross floor,
Why?
because I think otherwise you wind up with a ADU that could be as bigger than the principal dwelling,
Correct.
which I don't think is the purpose of what we're trying to address here in terms of alternative housing for.
Grandma,
So if grandma wants a bigger house than I have, what do we care?
you switch.
They switch the houses, so yes, what do we care?
Well, and the reason
Well,
that
no.
came up was because we had actually an application which brought up a good example of. What could happen is that the parents are in a home. And the children are building behind or in front, whatever it be, and want to build bigger for their families. And that's actually what brought up the conversation at the last meeting, which then is what turned into the discussion and the agreement that there would be no cap on detached. I don't think we should go backwards. I think that discussion we dealt with for meetings upon meetings. And we had the public hearing on it, and there were no public comments that were negative towards it. And so, and then I don't know, has the county planning board made any comments yet on it?
Their meeting is Wednesday.
Oh, that's right, it's this week.
I would anticipate getting their staff review comments tomorrow or, well, probably Wednesday. They usually give us their comments ahead of the meeting, but yeah, I haven't had any yet.
And I don't remember, were you at the last meeting, Chuck?
Last
Last ordinance?
Yeah. I know we talked about it.
I thought everybody had agreed on it
Yeah, just.
at that
just to keep-
meeting.
Yeah, this was done and finished. It went to the town board, maybe a little prematurely because of county planning board, but there was no further conversation. Like everybody was happy with it until the question came up about,
Yeah.
just for clarification on the.
Rob
attached.
Taylor was the
But
only
the
one
other
that spoke.
parts of it, everybody who's officially on the committee was comfortable with it. So, yeah, I agree with you. There's no point in rehashing it. I mean, unless the town board has changed and is now uncomfortable with it.
Well,
Should have
I
voted
still
at
want
that
to,
meeting.
if people are uncomfortable, I just want to hear it out.
No,
If we're
let's let it
comfortable.
go. Let's let it go. I mean, it's if you're,
Chuck, you good?
Well, I think, you know, as long as we clarify that the combination of the two units would have to meet building coverage
Absolutely.
regulation, obviously set.
Oh, that's a good.
Yes, and that was,
And I guess the only time you can really get burned on a big and bigger house would be on a large lot where your building coverage would, if you're in a 10-acre lot, you know, you're looking at 1.5 acres worth of floor area if you wanted to have between the two buildings. So that's I guess the only time it would really apply would be on a large lot. You could wind up with two large structures.
yeah, and that's actually the one part the Nadler reviewed, and he also sent something else back, I believe, but I locked out of my
Smart.
account.
That version of the language, he didn't. change.
But the reverting back to what Chuck was saying, that just the building coverage. He did say we don't need that specific language in there because it automatically will default to the standard lot coverage, et cetera, for a regular building. So that is covered, according to the town attorney, Chuck, for that.
Yeah, just the way it's written, detached accessory unit size shall be regulated by bulk and area requirements for a single family.
Let's just.
That's the part that he said we can cut out. It doesn't need to be in there because, did he leave it in?
Yeah.
Okay. He should.
You decided it could stay.
I know, we had it.
Chris
He
said
took it
all
out.
of his comments were technical in nature,
Yeah.
and we didn't even need to talk about them. We didn't think we needed.
All right.
Put it out into the look.
Very good.
It's
I don't think we
basically
oughta
just
talk about
cleaning
it.
up
That's fine. That's different than what-
Which.
Than what we talked about, and I haven't been able to get to my computer this morning.
He took out some stuff like needing to meet building code requirements, because that's a
there's
given.
two should pass.
So
All right,
I want to make sure we're all comfortable on the detached.
yeah.
Chuck, any other comments, thoughts?
Under. Under D, I guess it's paragraph D there, it is. You still have the word apartments in there, I think we were changing all
Oh,
that
yeah.
to accessory dwelling.
Need a variance information?
The last sentence. Notwithstanding for going any application.
Yeah,
or use-
just suggested we remove that entire paragraph anyway.
Paragraph D.
So do you think, Chuck, you can be comfortable with the
I'm getting there, yeah.
detached? Okay.
Yep. Okay, I'm good with detached. You wanna talk attached?
Now let's just talk attached. So. My interpretation is of this, that with the regard to the attached. We are limiting the size to 50% of the square footage. Or 720 square foot, whichever is less.
And your concern is a bigger. And the only thing I thought about is we have some zoning districts where you can't have a duplex. Whereas all zoning districts can have an attached accessory structure. So that may be the trigger.
So let's come back to that point for a minute, okay? Do we care whether the accessory dwelling unit is 50% of the size of the house or 720 square foot, whichever is less?
Can that be utilized in some way to evade some other regulation that we have. That would be the
You're not-
concern.
Well,
So. But
we don't allow duplexes in all residential zoning districts. That's, I think
Yeah.
that's the trigger here.
so.
Is there more than that?
In my opinion, it's a moot point, because if I said you can't have an attached accessory dwelling XYZ size, they're gonna say it's not, it's just an addition,
Isn't that what?
it's just an addition. And then I can't say anything.
Right.
If they said, well. I'm building ABC and I say, no, that's a two-family, they can alter the design of the structure to say it's a single family and I can't say anything. If someone tells me it's a single family,
Nothing we
I
can do.
can't argue. So.
So you get outsmarted no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing to have in there, but
Mhm.
the way around it would just say it's not an accessory dwelling unit, it's just an addition with another kitchen and another bathroom and another bedroom. Which is what we have all the time. Right,
What do we care?
that's what I'm saying, it's kind of a
Yeah.
mute point. in my opinion.
Well, what makes
Well,
it,
the neighbors might care. If there was in fact another family, if you get bigger, you have kids and more traffic and so on.
But if they
You want
say,
a duplex next to you,
Honestly,
don't care.
I don't care.
but what triggers and makes it takes us to that duplex? I guess that's what we need to figure out is what's that pinch point of what kicks it up to that duplex level? Because again, I mean, if you say you wanna bring, you bring in kids or whatever, or in-laws, the whole idea of an in-law suite,
so that is
what kicks it past that?
what they propose. To provide an example will be when we dealt with the farm labor house. We went around and around and around, and I was told by DOS, our own attorney, and Ag and Markets and everyone else that if they propose it as a single family, by state law, no municipal authority can merge. Because there's no definition of what a family.
So there's nothing we can do then. Only by the size.
But if they do something like that, were constructed. You could rent that out
Mhm.
for less than 30 days. And evade the SGR.
We have,
That's kind of the one trigger that it would.
it has to be a completely separate dwelling unit for the short-term rental. So, and it's a completely separate. One whole dwelling unit for short-term rental. It couldn't just be an extra kitchen, like it has to be a unit separate.
There's
It
a
couldn't-
door,
Yeah, however that's
Separate.
defined,
the two,
Separate entrance.
Then they are separate.
everything.
I mean, there is, yeah, I mean, in our code.
well, then they become,
Family structure, a duplex basically, and a single family home with an accessory apartment. Outwardly would look different. The duplex could have 2 garage doors, 2 main front doors and everything like your image, but that wouldn't be able to be called a single family dwelling with an accessory apartment because our definition of that says it has to have the appearance of one home from the outside. It can't look like 2. It's kind of vague, but that's what it says.
so somebody could do it.
Yeah, I don't know how you would define that.
Well, I think you wanna not allow that,
Mhm.
allow somebody to escape the STR code that we've developed. When does it become a boarding house? When does it become
I mean, the
you know,
way
if
it
somebody
stands
builds
now,
on-
you could rent your accessory apartment that's attached to your single family home. You could rent either one of them out as a short-term rental because they're both dwelling units.
And after Granny's gone and I sell my house, somebody probably is gonna buy it and use it as a short-term rental.
gotta be, I think it says that owner's
Yes,
gotta
but
be on site.
We've said before in this conversation, this is not the time to talk about how you want to deal with the short-term rentals. They're completely separate conversations.
Oh, no, they're not totally separate.
They are, because our short-term rental law.
Overlap.
Only because we're talking about a dwelling unit is there overlap, but you
Yeah.
can't use your ADU law to dictate your short-term rentals. You need to do it in your short-term rental law. If you don't want these secondary homes to be built and turned into short-term rentals, there's a way to deal with that in your short-term rental law, as in you only allow one short-term rental per property or something like that. This is just. Do you want the accessory dwelling units? How do you want to allow them? Our short-term
Well, before-
rental allows any dwelling unit to be a short-term rental.
I was just gonna say section 11 in this, I forgot to bring it with me. Talks about. What you can't do, boarding houses, B and Bs, if you have any of those, you can't have the ADU.
If you have a special use permit.
Well, it could be a way around it. I think these things just open up such a bag of snakes. If you set out to develop ADU. I think most people's minds, that's a little cottage over here next to the house. And we've gone from that to where we are now.
Don't
You
forget,
know,
there
I
is
mean,
a,
it's,
there's a line in here for occupancy. The owners of record
Yeah,
of the
it has to
property
be-
on which principal dwelling unit is located must reside in either the principal dwelling unit
Yeah.
or the accessory dwelling unit.
so they can't sell it and become an STR. They gotta live there.
Just to clarify, that doesn't mean it can't be an STR, it just means they need to live there. They can still list it as a short-term rental.
the owner
for a
has to
weekend
live
when
there,
they're
yeah.
gone,
The owner has to
but
live
they
there.
have, it has to be there.
Can't go corporate.
Only when it's built or permitted. Down the road, the person sells the home. They've got 2 dwelling units.
And the new owner has to live in one of them.
So that's why we added the.
But you're saying they don't have to live in either.
Yeah, they,
That's your
yeah,
point.
they
We gotta
do.
control that.
John,
Well, it
so-
says,
It's in the.
Yeah, that's why we added the provision at the end for recorded restrictions.
The host has.
So when they get, prior to the issuance of the C of O for that space, they would have to provide our office the receipt of filing with the county clerks that goes with the deed with all of the, basically the letter.
Yeah.
On why that was built, how that was built. So that if it does transfer, then that record maintains with the property, not just the property owner. And if you're a good real estate agent, you pull the whole deed file, that shouldn't. So.
there are certainly ways to address short-term rentals in the short-term rental law. You can change it so that you can only have one per parcel. You could change it so it has to be, like any short-term rental has to be in the owner's, like their owner has to reside. Like we have short-term rentals that are only short-term rentals. Nobody lives in that house. It's just a short-term rental. I mean, so there are ways you could amend your short-term rental law to make it more restrictive than it is today. Because today there's no limits. Any dwelling unit in the town can be a short-term rental if it meets the requirement.
And I think the conclusion of that discussion was we were going to leave as is. See if it became a problem.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't discussed the short here yet since it's been changed. So, I mean, I think we want to, that's where to do it. I mean, yeah, Terry, you're right. We're talking about houses, so naturally there is overlap, but you want to limit whether or not an ADU becomes a short-term rental. You can do it in a short-term rental law.
Well, I think we want them to be separate. I think that was at least the thrust I thought we had when we got into this discussion. As you said, they're 2 distinctly different things.
They are.
So we want them to be distinctly
Yeah,
different.
you can't write stuff in, I mean, I don't think it makes sense to write rules in the ADU law about short-term rentals. I think it should be in. the
Only
short-term
if you want them to be totally separate. Then it makes sense to put language in each that, doesn't include the other. That, then they are truly separate. So right now, there is overlap, so. Watch and see what happens, I guess, that's all. There's a problem, then you deal with it. Spend a year trying to come up with new language.
I don't know if we've answered the question.
Which
Which was, why do we care whether it's 50% or 720 square feet?
To keep it from being a duplex.
How do you define a duplex?
What is it?
necessary.
So
Good answer.
Two family.
Well, it has to do with what do we allow in which
Well,
residential zoning.
Well, let's say,
Okay,
let's say for a moment, we don't, take the definition of duplex out for a second. Why do we care whether it's 50% or 720 square feet?
As I believe the idea of an accessory dwelling, an attached accessory dwelling unit, it's a minor deviation from a single family residence as opposed to a duplex.
What if I wanted to build a 2,000 square foot apartment in my 6,000 square foot home for my mother?
Well, the odds are you wouldn't have it on single utilities and a single septic system.
I'm not saying it could be single septics or single anything.
You're gonna have to if it's an ADU.
If it's an ADU, I'm not gonna have separate utilities.
Correct.
Right. So, doesn't answer my question.
It's unlikely, I would say, John.
All right, if I had a 4,000 square foot home. And I wanted to make my accessory dwelling unit 2,000 square foot. Why does anybody sitting at this table care?
I think the only differentiation is whether we wanna worry about what's a duplex and where duplexes are
I'll
allowed.
come back to that question and we'll figure that out, but
Right,
it's standalone relative to this ADU law, which we are drafting. Why do we care what size it is?
same thing if I live in a 1,000 square foot ranch.
Yep.
And now I want to, again, instead of building an outbuilding for parents or family, I want to have that, I have that 1,000 square foot ranch. That will then be my accessory dwelling. I'm gonna put a 3,000 square foot addition on that home. And then that original part will be an apartment or whatever for my in-laws, for my for my kids coming back, whatever. That's how I see it too. I mean, I don't know the difference.
And as long as the building coverage and a
Meets
lot
all the building
coverage,
coverage and lot
setbacks are adequate, what do we care?
Mhm.
That's the way I.
One utility, it's on one utility, it's on, meets all those other requirements, and then you're just flip flopping it. Instead of being pigeonholed that you can, and then you're saying you can only have an accessory dwelling if you have a large house. Now I have a smaller house, so I'm gonna blow it out a little bit. And then flip it. I have no problem, I have no problem.
I have no issue with that either. Chuck, any comments?
I'm just saying, where do you cross over the line between a duplex, which is a two family,
That's.
yeah,
I
and
was wondering.
this situation.
We should come back, yeah.
Which is
You're the linchpin, you guys are the.
Yes, we need to talk about the duplex.
They're both two
Why
family,
do we differentiate?
So
yeah,
real quick, the way and it's not in code, I wrote it probably a year into me being here. When we had this conversation come up with an accessory apartment. I wrote it that the difference between a duplex and an addition or an attached accessory structure is that you have no common space, common shared space between the two. So a duplex is just that. There's nothing shared, no entries, no hallways, nothing that are shared between the two residences.
Split utilities.
Our code just says. Basically what he said, it's got two dwelling units that have a common wall, but they both provide full dwelling unit for independent living by separate families or people.
So I would assume
So
if nothing is shared.
So for instance, we just permitted a house that was like this. They proposed a accessory apartment. They were over the permitted square footage. Architect came back and said, what do I need to do to make this not an accessory apartment? Make it a single family home with 2 kitchens, 2 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, and you're good to go. And I can't say anything. It's
We bother you.
The bottom line is, I think this is irrelevant then, because
Yeah,
anybody
yes.
could come back this discussion. Because, yeah, if I come back and I'm building on something, I'm, building that larger addition, bringing somebody in.
kitchens.
More could, yeah, I'll call it,
an addition
listen,
as opposed to.
this is an addition, yeah, I want 2 kitchens because we entertain. I want 2 of this because yeah. So that makes this discussion kind of irrelevant
It
and
makes the past 6 months. discussion.
We're never getting those back.
No, I think it's still a good discussion because of the detached. We still run into that a lot where people want the detached. The attached is just devil's advocate.
So then, that all being said, there's no reason why we should put a definition to the attached dwelling unit and putting maximums or minimums on it. Because people are just gonna say it's a single family home anyway.
And that just encourages people to look for a way around the code. Where if it's not specified in the code, they don't have to look for a way around it. If there's no minimum, if there's no size requirement, then people can be straightforward and not have to look for that. The back door in and be like, yeah. This is what we're doing.
One of the big pushes on ADUs came from Albany. And saying that you have these houses on a lot. There's room to put a small cottage for grandma to live in. And that's in my mind, what I recollect is being a big push towards this. Now, for that purpose, the ADU code it will serve that purpose, but. For most situations, you just go to attach them and that's the way it is. So this deals more with detached than attached, and
Yeah, I don't think we put it, I don't. think
attached,
We
you
should have.
can do whatever you want.
Would there be
As long as you
any,
don't violate lot coverage.
Exactly.
would there be any differentiation in the tax bill if it's something that's labeled as an attached accessory rather than an extension of my house?
The way that I've seen that before is it's not the attached accessory. That is not. It's when it's a two-family. It's a legitimate two-family.
Well, if you built an attached, you add an attachment to the house. Value goes up. So
Right,
tax
so it will
bill-
affect.
Yeah, but as far as
Kitchen will definitely add
that's
to value.
your-
All
But
those
as far as
things.
the assessment codes like 210, 220, all that is still 210.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, when we talk about somebody could just say, this is just, I'm just adding on to my house and I want another kitchen, et cetera. Is there a benefit for them to have it as an attached, to not have to try to get around the size and restrictions if they stay by having it as an attached accessory? What I'm saying is like, if doesn't really matter because people would just say it's an extension, would we still be kind of restricting things? 'Cause it's beneficial for them to have it as an accessory rather than just get around the size and limits by saying it's an extension, so still wanting to deal with the size limit basically is whether we unrestricted or restricted.
It seems to me right now, based on what I've heard this morning, and based on what I heard Mike just say. There absolutely is no reason for us to go and put a maximum of 50% or a minimum of, or 720, whichever is less. That's worthless.
As I'm reading this too.
Let me finish, please. That to me is worthless. The only issue is whether we should have a definition for an attached accessory dwelling unit in this code.
I would still have it in there.
Okay.
Right, it's not gonna change anything if it's in there, if it's not. That way there still is an option to not do a single family home, to not do a two-family dwelling unit, it still is an attached accessory dwelling unit. That's just how I see it.
I'm comfortable with leaving it without restriction.
I would just still say the 720 minimum to maintain compliance with your other protections.
Well, so that's what, when I read this, the way this is actually written is you go less than 720 square feet. Because it's whichever is less, which means if I have a 720 square foot home, my attached accessory dwelling can be 360.
But it can't be any greater than 720, the way this is written.
Yeah.
Correct.
And what I just.
So was it
like
even
is
written
there should be a
right?
minimum of 720.
So I guess, so is this even written correct? Yeah.
It was,
Okay,
It was,
it was a discussion on whether to change it or not with the
Got it.
ADU law.
So then,
That
so then,
definition has been in there.
all right, so then should we say that an attached accessory dwelling unit must be 720 square feet or greater?
Why? Why would you make them make it bigger?
Yeah,
I just asked Because I heard Mike make the comment.
I made the comment because the town board is elected to say that a dwelling unit must be a minimum size of 700 square
No, a
feet.
single family home, an attached accessory apartment doesn't have to be.
My own personal feeling is, I don't think we ought to put any definition on it
I don't,
at
I don't
all.
want any, the more we talk, I wouldn't, I don't have a vote on this committee, but I wouldn't support any. I would say take the numbers out.
Take the numbers out, leave it in attached.
Allow them to have more flexibility with their
Mm-hmm.
intent.
Absolutely.
So an attached accessory dwelling unit. So I guess what,
The definition could just define what it is, not the. size of
yeah,
it.
so we would have to take that whole
Whole paragraph.
section out.
No, I think you misunderstand. It's not part of the new language of the law. It's just when you have your local law to do your accessory dwelling unit language, section 2 is just saying our existing definition needs to change. Our existing definition says detached residential dwelling unit having the external appearance of a single family dwelling, but in which there is located a second dwelling unit that does not exceed, and then it talks about the size. You could just stop it at a second dwelling unit, period.
Period. Agreed.
That would keep the existing definition the way it is, but remove the size.
Right, then we just need to remove,
It also needs to be changed to
DA.
accessory
I would-
apartment, it needs to say accessory.
I wouldn't remove DA in its entirety. I would say attached accessory dwelling units. Shall maintain that the principal structure is regulated in accordance with bulk area requirements.
Yep.
It may be Naylor says no, and it's repetitive, but that way it's still saying you can have an attached accessory dwelling unit, but the principal structure still needs to maintain the standard compliance.
We all good?
And we are restricting it to only one additional second dwelling.
Yeah.
In other words, if you put the 3 kitchens, 3 bathrooms, you
Yeah,
couldn't have 3,
you can have 3 dwelling,
you can't have
yeah.
3, so as long as it's clear that it's just a one additional.
I think it says that throughout.
Yeah,
It's a good point to break. So, anyone online have any comments?
Gotta be words. That's-
Sir, anything you want to add? Do you think we've clarified that as dirty as mud or
We're removing the part of the definition that talks about size.
or
Yeah.
removing the size restrictions for an attached accessory dwelling?
Accessory.
Anything else we need to talk about as far as dwelling units?
I
Just-
got a quickie and Mike or Chuck. Exterior appearance is always a chestnut for the planning board. Item 9C on page 2. Exterior access. Where we say you can't have 2 exterior access in the front of the structure. My extremely modest home has got 2 exterior access points in the front of the dwelling. And how much luck have we ever had
God
in
forbid.
enforcing appearances, Chuck?
So we're not enforcing.
How enforceable is that?
Very.
Really?
So what you're doing is you're not saying that you can't have 2 front doors. You can, you just can't have your separate means of entry and egress for that attached accessory dwelling unit to be on the front side. It has to be on the side or that way, with the purpose of the law, it maintains the visual appearance of a single family dwelling. Picture a duplex, right? Not a duplex, but.
Yeah,
a family home.
I understand the
Yep.
duplex
Yep.
mentality, but somebody that's going to add this attached ADU. I don't know how you can avoid having it perhaps in the front.
We do plan reviews. And so when the plan comes in with a front door, we'd say no.
Just flip it.
Yeah. We're not like planning board where we say that doesn't look good and
But you can't.
You can't
that's
say
the
that.
dilemma.
we say construction standards, you can't do that. We're not gonna give you a building.
Okay, if it's enforceable, fine, I just
Yeah.
thought It's always
Yep.
been a
And
nightmare.
it's not regulated by the state, so it's not more restricted. And so
As long as you can define the front of the structure.
that's the toughest part with a lot of these.
You gotta look, what's the front yard? Okay, the front yard, so that means that.
Well, by definition, isn't it what faces the main street?
Yeah, and then you get corner lots and
Yeah, okay. I'll let you wrestle with it.
Yeah.
There you have two.
Before you get Westlake Road lots.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
Don't go there
Don't say-
tonight.
yeah.
Too far.
It's not.
Do you want to, is there a way to let the county planning board know that this one little change for Nadler's email really depends on their comments on whether we have to reopen a public hearing or not?
I mean, yeah, I can let them know that it's changed.
See if it
and send to
changes,
them.
see if it changes any of their comments that we'd still like to see by tomorrow, hopefully for Wednesday, whatever. Because that was when I discussed with Nadler, said on whether we need to do another public hearing or not, really depends on how their comments come in on it. 'Cause if we have to do another public hearing, then it'll be 2 months to pass this.
But we also have to do something for the attached if we're gonna remove that section.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so we'll need.
There's nothing else significant changed from Nadler stuff. It's just the attached.
One thing, I just saw this, that he sent this morning. For the definition, he actually suggested that we replace the current definition just with a definition of accessory dwelling unit that says it's a single family dwelling on a parcel that is subordinate to the principal single family dwelling. Sorry, single family dwelling on a parcel that is subordinate to the principal single family dwelling. An accessory dwelling unit can be attached to or detached from the principal single family dwelling unit on the parcel. So he did remove all discussion of size in the definition. So for our changes in the new language, it would just be under the section that talks about size.
Yeah.
Or
And to me,
instead of
that's,
A and B, you just have one that
Yeah.
says accessory dwelling unit size shall be regulated by bulk and area requirements. Yes, because if we're removing size, then that whole sentence for A is only about size.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it should require another.
well, because it's basically, there's part of the intent of the law of this new local law that changes, so it's not just, so a lot of it is just technical stuff like the definition, the Nadler change is really just technical. But since the initial public hearing, we just changed the intent of it, which with the attached accessory dwelling. Which again, now, when I talked, in the email he sent, he doesn't necessarily think that 100% needs a new public hearing, but he said, let's see what the county planning board comes back. If it's likely, I doubt they're gonna have any major comments. But if there was anything and related to size and all that, then he suggested we probably should have a new public hearing. But, so we just gotta wait to see what they come back. It's not likely we're going to need it.
So you have the public hearing. You can follow that with a resolution approving it. You would
Well,
have
no,
to
we
wait.
need, well, we need to set the public hearing first.
yeah.
So July, we have
Then-
to set it, then
Do it in August.
August, yeah, have it and
Get
then
this off.
pass it, correct. But I think we can still get it passed in July. Cause sounds like county planning board doesn't.
Tomorrow night too, so. Maybe get something out of that too, but.
Okay. But that's why I said if they at least know that one change in their comments, if it doesn't change anything significant, then we can just get this passed.
Yeah. I'll send.
Troublemaker.
Send.
Yes, do it, Bruno.
Is there, we need to talk any more about accessory dwelling units? Or think we're wrapped up?
Let's hope that.
I hope not. I agree.
Well, I don't. Do I need to wait till John's back to make sure we don't have any misunderstanding, but we're gonna,
I think
we good? We
I
gonna eliminate it?
understand what language needs to be amended and is based on what Chris Navers sent. John, you were on the email chain, so I believe you got a copy of it.
Yep.
And this is it here. Based on his suggested changes, which were mostly technical in nature. The only thing we have to add or remove is the discussion of size on the attached ADUs. Everything else that we had, plus this technical changes were amazing.
And you said we're gonna remove the size restrictions on the attached ADU.
That's what I'm hearing you guys would like me to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I think the best way to do that is under 4. Right now, it's size A and B, A for attached, B for detached.
Yeah.
It should just be one of them and just say accessory dwelling units, like remove the A.
Yeah.
And amend B to say accessory dwelling units, not just detached, instead it just says they have to be within our regular zoning requirements for size.
Yeah.
I think that'll do it.
Okay.
Everything else that he changed is just the way he wrote the language, plus that definition for ADU rather than a definition of the accessory apartments, which I read out. And I will send that, all of it, to the county planning board.
Good.
That's exciting.
maybe.
Maybe.
Until we vote.
Yeah,
So we all vote on
for now,
it.
till somebody lays, it's all fun until somebody lays it over.
Yeah, so. Let's move on.
And I left mine, I grabbed the wrong folder, so all my form-based code stuff's upstairs. I'm
Well-
just gonna run up and grab it.
Before you do. Are we prepared to talk about it? Because quite honestly, I didn't get this until this weekend and I haven't had a chance to go and review,
Form-based code.
yeah, what was modified versus,
It's the second time I've sent it.
This,
but I haven't reviewed it, in all honesty, between the form-based code as was written versus as modified. Has everybody else done it? We ready to talk about it?
Quickly, I think a presentation by staff would be appropriate this time possibly as to what
Okay.
they looked at. Whether we think of their advisement.
well, at our last
Yeah, I
meeting,
guess.
we handed out the,
Yeah, I.
you know, the revisions.
Take a quick.
Trouble I had was. This is phone-based code. Looking here and then.
Trying to find
Is there
where it
one?
is.
The
No, because
attachments
we
that
didn't
Kim
create
put-
that.
Huh?
We didn't create that document. That is our form-based code. It's not like everything else we have, which is in here.
Yeah.
And so that came to us as a PDF. I don't have an original document because Bergman created it. So until we're ready to make big changes, right now, what I gave you
Yeah.
is every item where that's changing. But yes, the way it's
Yeah,
written, you
but
need
you-
to check it
To
again.
see what it was,
So I didn't put the whole
Yeah.
code in.
it makes it difficult to, you know, I just flip
Yeah.
through.
I mean,
That's what
I
I had
understand.
difficulty with, and I
So
didn't
what
have the
about-
time to go and do a detailed
so in order
analysis.
to put it a different way, I have to recreate the entire form-based code in a document and then do red line changes, which I have not done.
Or if there is there a different way to just
Well,
pull up the parts and do like a this and that? It was this, it is this. Not in that document. I'm thinking like a side by side slideshow or something. It was this, now it's this with just the highlights.
yeah. Well, a lot of this really just reflects what was done. Doesn't it, to get Uptown Landing in compliance with
Some of
form-based
it-
code?
Yeah, do you remember, like, I think it was in February where this committee went through some of the changes the committee asked for were similar to what the incentive zoning.
Yeah,
Incentives were for Uptown, but others were separate. So yes, some
Yeah,
of
the
it,
signage and stuff like
yeah,
that, but,
some of it, yes.
you know, I read through this a couple of times and I don't know, I mean, nothing in here really said you shouldn't do this. To me, just on itself, I stopped flipping around.
A lot of it's based on the issues that you've come up with in your reviews, right? I mean, you're correcting a lot of the issues, the problems that you've had with your reviews,
Yeah,
which is all well and good. And I think the other thing is, as far as some of the transparency and technical issues that we had concerns about, we wanted to make sure those were changed.
yeah, and some of it so far was being suggested to be changed, but some of it wasn't. So I figured this
And
would
the other
probably
thing
come up in
was
conversation
the
again.
procedure. I looked at that real quick and it looks like the procedure has been
Completely.
Significantly changed
No,
a lot
and
simpler.
streamlined.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not back and forth, back and forth.
It's just one round and that's it.
Just like any other.
Yeah, it's not. And I remember when we put that part in, I was concerned that,
The 5,000 square foot.
yeah, and it
above that,
was,
had to give it down for.
yeah, and it was concerned that we wouldn't have that things would happen, and we wouldn't have the oversight for major things happening, but we still have the input. And it tightens it up, makes it easier.
I would think maybe since it is almost 10 o'clock, John, I wonder if we ought to. Because we spent so much time on the ADU, next meeting.
Just form-based code.
Form-based codes. If the changes, presentation by you guys, if there's anything in the changes that don't sound right, we discuss those and make a decision and. Let's put this off for.
I'm comfortable with that suggestion.
It's. The fence here is streamline and make us less.
Yes.
Deer.
Yeah.
With the town.
Whoever was on the committee, you thought this was a nightmare. You were involved in the original.
Yeah,
right?
it was
I
largely
think
driven.
Doug was.
Doug was a real architect, I think. And LaBella, was it LaBella?
With a form-based code.
Bell, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
She was,
It was pushed.
Barb.
Barbara Johnson.
Again, the idea is correct, we made it too damn covers.
Yeah. And I think as of right now, since we have no electricity up there, I don't think we're gonna have any real push for anything major till we have some time.
Yeah.
Because you can't get power there.
Yep. Yep.
Unless you have $10 million that you can throw out there.
But yet our Genie bill is gonna go up 24%.
Don't worry about that, that's fine. That's to pay for.
I agree with Terry completely to hold on the form-based code
Privilege of the floor.
conversation until next meeting. But is there a simple way to do a red line or somehow illustrate it, or is it something that we have to just go back and forth from one document to
It's
the
a lot
other?
of paper.
It's simple, but we can do
Do you
it.
want me to try to work on something that will be like this and that, just kind of, take it at not with the planner perspective, but
What's
with
the
the.
simplest way to do it? We
Okay.
just, I mean, yes, we can try, it's just gonna take more time. With our code that lives in E-code, we download a Word document of it and it's editable immediately.
But not anymore with that.
With form-based code, it's a PDF document. I can turn it into a Word document, but it gets all jacked up. And I have to take all the images out and then work on a red line, which we can. I just didn't wanna spend that amount of time.
Would it be easier to just go through this page by page at the next meeting? If it's necessary to pull up
Yeah.
the
just
original
pull it up on
document,
the
pull it
screen.
up on the screen.
That was
thing.
my intent.
Says this here,
Give it a
says that
save
here.
and-
Okay, so if you just go,
So that's the way we'll do it next meeting. We'll just take the old and convert to the new. And we'll just spend the whole meeting talking about that. We won't let anything else get in our way.
I
I do
mean,
have-
I do not have time to do it a different
no,
way.
I don't think it's,
I'm gonna be out of town, so.
I do have two other comments that I want to talk about, but before I move on to that, sir, you had something?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know the procedure. I thought when you asked me to speak, it was about your housing you were doing. I was here for the form-based code, so I could just talk about it for a minute for the property,
Please do.
So I don't have the map here, whatever, but David Village here. So it's the property that's behind
How are you related to Ron?
my brother. That
And
good or
he's been
bad?
talking to me about the project, so I told him about today's meeting.
Yeah, I'm in Florida, but my family, my father has owned that land. The land I'm talking about is on Airport Road and Summers Road. We'd owned that land from there all the way back. We sold it for the bus garage. That's back in there. We sold that. We bought it. It was industrial when we bought it. That's what we always envisioned. So we sold that. They put the road in, sold the bus garage. We've always been saving the piece behind Admar, Taylor Rental.
Tractor's flying.
Trash pipe. We've always saved that. They put Summers Road in. So between the back of Admar to Summers Road over, we own that parcel. That's exactly where the town now has proposed this change. And we've been a lot of studying of what the town needed, the commercial realtors, and they really are stressed to us the importance of flex warehouses. Where small businesses, a welder, a paint shop, any small business could come in with a little office in the front, and in the back is a warehouse with garage doors. So we work with DeMarco on this and they've had really. Really good looking flex warehouses to put in there. However, now with these changes with no parking in the front, the glass. It's just very challenging now to make these buildings work and it's zone industrial. That's why we bought it. That little parcel that we own is just cut out to comply with this. And if in the future, if the board would just consider some flexibility so we can do that, we would appreciate it. We'd like to put really nice looking warehouse. Like if you see those warehouses right when you get on throughway, going back to Rochester, if you look on the right, those flex warehouses there, they were all sold out like that. They're really nice looking. But if you could just take and consider, I'm gonna be in Florida, I'm gonna try to make it back, but for that parcel there to put those warehouses, we're gonna put like 4 or 5 20,000 square foot flex warehouses in. So those businesses could be 1,800 square foot or 3,000 square foot and do it that way, but having the building up against the road with no parking. All that really makes it difficult for us, so I appreciate you taking the time to at least hear me out here.
And that's what we're trying to do with this, is look at ways to improve it, because it was all new. And we're going through the hiccups like anything, and the first iteration of everything is the worst. So we're trying to go through
And I think that that's the motivation behind us reviewing it, is that we thought it was too restrictive also.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And one, if I could add to it, when he and Paul Colucci from Marco Group came in last week and showed some basic plans. And as we started talking and I let them know about some of the proposed changes with the form-based code, he and Paul started drawing on maps, and it seems like with some of the idea of where this committee is gonna propose to the town board with where to go with the form-based code, they have a really nice plan. For the most part, seems like it would fall in line with what you guys were proposing, some of the changes we already addressed in these committees, so.
Good.
Um,
And I, if I could, I'll have Paul, the next meeting, you just show those.
That'd be great. What's your time? I mean,
Run them as soon as we can, but we can wait.
all right. So it's something that you are, it's not conceptual a few years down the road.
We had that since the 80s.
Okay, so yeah, you have the conceptual time for the last 30 years, so you're ready to go.
DeMarco thinks they could be ready with actual plans, what did he say, this fall, early fall?
Hopefully you don't use electricity.
Yeah, hopefully it's like windmill on top.
No, they don't allow that.
Oh, no, yeah, that's right. Like kids on bikes.
So,
Well, thank you guys. I
Yes,
appreciate you listening. I'll have Paul come back. Thank you.
so, I do have 2 other topics I want to talk about. I was at the zoning board of appeals meeting, last month because 2 reasons. One, we were gonna have our joint meeting, and I thought we were gonna talk about some of the joint issues. And so I attended for that, and I also attended because there were a couple of issues on the agenda which were in our neighborhood, so I just wanted to see what was going on. But the 2 topics that came up that were somewhat concerning to me was one resident wanted to go and put a generator in the setback. And the zoning board of appeals, in my view, was seriously considering accepting that and allowing that to happen, because it was the only place on the property where this owner could put the generator. And they said that they met with you and they met with, or maybe it was Mike Warner. And Mike told them, one Mike, it was either you or Mike Warner, told them that that location was the best location that they could put it at. And it was additionally next to a creek. And
It was not me that said that.
yeah,
I said the opposite.
and there was some concern discussed about, when they change the oil, maybe the oil's gonna leak out, get into the creek, or, if there's a flooding situation, is some of the residues gonna get into the creek. But more importantly to me, it was more of a concern about whether it was truly neighborly to go and put a generator in the setback. And I think the setbacks are created to create some sort of separation between the properties. And my own experience with the generators is that they have to be started once a week and they have to be run for a set period of time. And yes, they can be programmed to do it at nighttime, but still, it just made me think that, do we want to allow generators in the setbacks? And I thought we should at least bring it up and have a conversation about it here at the ordinance committee and see if we wanted to tighten up that ordinance or that code. If we don't want it to happen, or if we do allow it, then we make it such that we allow it and it doesn't have to go before the ZBA.
To start out, I presume it isn't allowed.
It isn't.
Correct, it's not
Something-
allowed.
That's why they went to the ZBA. It's not allowed. So whoever the applicant is, wanted to have something that's not allowed.
Well,
And you're saying, why are we doing it?
I'm not certain that generators are specifically excluded from being in a setback.
They're not
Yeah.
allowed.
Cause they're defined
It
as. an accessory
specifically says the generator.
Yeah.
Doesn't
and
have to
structure.
be there, it says structure.
The
Actually, I think
definition
they
of
did change
accessory
it.
structure does say.
Well, because of Woodbine Rise and everything else,
I
I'm
think
sure
we
you
should
referenced
actually say that too, they have to.
That was the
meet
area
that.
that got.
So if
killed.
you're allowed in
That's a
setback,
tough-
that's why that
Yeah, you
person
got
went
no
to the
room.
zoning board, staff, ECB, none of us think that it should go there. I really think that's an awful spot to put it. It's, if you look at the pictures, I don't even know how they're gonna put it there. It's practically in the green.
Well, and I don't want to be just specific to that particular property. I'm more concerned about if they're not allowed in a
Yeah, that's
setback.
like the worst example, right?
Right.
But yes, we have had a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, we have had a handful of people recently going to the zoning board specifically to request a generator in the setback.
Have they been granted?
They are being granted, yeah.
So then that.
How
puts-
do you prevent that? I mean,
Tell your zoning board that you don't want them to grant it.
well, but
They
we
can.
can't.
But we can't, so we cannot control their decisions. But we can tell them our desires.
Yeah,
And I think you're right. I know with that meeting, that one that we had, it was great. It kind of came together fast with the direction that we took on it. But that's something else that we need to do and find that spot to have those conversations of, let's get all on the same page with these things. With that perfect example, to be able to have that conversation with the zoning board. And say, look, we don't like that. We can't tell you what to do, but we don't like that,
Well, let me give you another example,
Mhm.
if you don't mind. We got a couple more minutes, but I'll give you another example. While I was at that meeting, it was a neighbor that I think was related to this other example with the generator, but I can't swear to that, but not that it matters anyways, but another property, only 3 or 4 doors down from there, wanted to put a storage shed in the front yard. Now the question became, well, which was the front yard? It was on the lakeside of Westlake Road. And they said, well, we can't put it on the lakeside. So we have to put it on the roadside of the house. And I'm thinking to myself, why do us as neighbors want to see an ugly shed as we drive down Westlake Road in the front of this house? And we have restrictions about that also. And because, again, they said in the meeting, either Mike or Mike
That one, I will be honest, I did recommend.
recommended that we put the storage shed in the front of the house. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, why do we want that storage shed in that location as we drive down Westlake? Just not gonna enhance the properties or the property values, et cetera. And they concluded that it was allowable because it was the only place on the property that placed this. So I'm not finding fault with
No,
the fact that we
I
told
just
them to
mean-
put it there. I'm finding fault with the fact that they're not allowed per our zoning, but yet
We're allowing it.
we're allowing it to happen.
Can I speak to that one?
Please do it.
So that one I recommended putting in that location because the rest of the property is all within 100.
Say that again, please, Mike.
It's all within a 100-year floodplain,
Yes.
so they would need to become floodplain compliant. The structure would still need a variance for setback from the lake shore because it's such a small lot.
Yeah.
I also, in my recommendation, said, hey, we allow lots that are divided by the road, 100 square foot shed on the lake shore.
Yeah.
Within a front yard.
Yep.
That fits in with the neighborhood of the community where there is a shed on the lake shore. Yes, it's in the front of the house, but ultimately weighing the environmental impacts, the sustainability of the structure. The pros outweigh the cons in that situation. And so that's why from the code office, I issued the recommendation. So, and that's how I look at it. It's a small shed, it's nothing crazy. I think it's 120 square feet.
It's pretty.
It's
small.
very
Yeah, it
small.
was a small shed.
So it meets the character of the neighborhood with the sheds being allowed on the lake shore with nothing else. It was put in that place so that it did not cause an environmental impact.
But they didn't put it on the lake shore side.
Yep.
They put it on the road side.
Correct.
Which is,
Yep.
yeah, and then behind the house on the lake side, there really wasn't that much room. I mean, it wouldn't have worked.
So, okay, to my point now. If they were supposed to put it on the lakeside and there wasn't enough room, why, the flood, why are they allowed to put it on the roads?
Yeah.
So I think, and this is, the obvious statement, but I think it's still worth saying, everybody at the zoning board is asking to do something they're not allowed to do. That's the only reason we go
It's
there.
reading there.
No.
Everyone in there is asking us to go against our rules, nothing
From
that
both
they
sides.
go for. They're all asking to do something that is.
Well, that lake areas. It's always kind of bugged me, the front and the back of the house. I mean, your house on Westlake Road, the front, pretty obvious, faces the road. The houses that are built on the other side, to me. If I was down there, the front of my house would be what looks out at the lake. Back of the house would be the part that's by the road. Cause that's the back of my house, the road behind my house, not,
But code doesn't define it that way.
no, it
right?
doesn't.
So code says whichever side of the house basically faces the right of way.
But in effect, you have a shed in your front yard. Just happen to have a road between your house,
Yeah.
so you've got one in the front yard. A lot of places do, so to me, I would have needed.
And that was where, when I recommended saying this really is in character, because you drive down and the whole lake shore is sheds that are technically in the front yard.
Anybody has a bisected
Well,
property is.
Correct, yes.
That, to me, of the two examples was the least egregious.
Oh, yeah.
The other one
I think
was,
zoning staff, we were kind of in the same boat. We agreed with that applicant that it was worth going to the zoning board to ask for it.
so it sounds to me like there's a communication issue then, huh?
Yeah, we need to get some, I mean, sharing our. Whether it be a discussion at a board meeting that's in the minutes and then we can share it, that might be the easiest, the quickest way right now. That we're concerned over that and that we. As far as the generators in the easements, I think that's the easiest way to get it out there. Or just
To make a note in the board meeting?
to have a discussion at a board meeting. So
Town
then
board
a
meeting?
town board meeting, so then it's in the minutes
Okay.
of the meeting and recorded that, this is a concern, this is something that we're seeing, what do we feel? Here's our preference, as the board, so they can hear the board members' decisions.
Can I give a third example? It's
Please.
kind of very blatant, should have been denied, in my opinion, I recommended it. House or a lot was purchased with a house on it. Applicant came in about 3 months after they purchased the lot with an application to tear down the house and increase lot coverage, building coverage. So they need variances.
Self-imposed.
They're in a flood zone, severely dangerous flood zone. And I said, absolutely not, I don't believe in this, increasing lot coverage will cause negative impacts on the whole sustainability of the floodplain. And it was great. Because there was a house 3 doors down that had also been granted about 2 years prior. And that was the evidence that was filmed. So I'm just speaking frank on that one, the floodplain administrator for a house within the floodplain. It's gonna increase lot coverage, said, I don't recommend this.
And it still happened.
And it's-
But that brings up the biggest issue, the tightrope that we've got to walk, because they're the only board. If the planning board wasn't doing a good job and we were tired of Chuck, which we're not, we could just say, okay, we're getting rid of, see ya, the town board's gonna take over and become a planning board. That's not gonna happen.
Chuck might be tired of us.
It's not gonna happen.
Let's do.
But the zoning board is the only one that we have to have by law. You know, you've been there, and that's the dilemma of crossing that line of
Influence.
influence and expressing our opinion versus trying to dictate those decisions. So I think it's a fair, that way, I mean, I think it's a little bit more overt and blatant having a discussion at a board meeting, but I think that would be a fair place to have that discussion. To just come up and say, here are some concerns we've seen, we've had. How do we feel about this? Oh, I like the idea. I don't like the idea of putting it there. I'm really not comfortable with that idea of putting that there. Then we can get our feelings out there in front of them. And this is a great thing. Next time we have a combined, circle back and get that on the agenda. And come back and have that discussion. If you remember the first time we had that combined meeting, it did feel to me like it was an attack on the plan, on the zoning board the whole time. So we need to tread lightly and make sure that it's not perceived that way, that it's just an open discussion, open sharing of, this is what, these are our preferences, this is what we like.
I think they'll probably see through that. Because we're telling them to knock it
That's
off.
okay.
Mhm.
That's okay if they see.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't say anything wrong with that.
I mean, that person.
Why are you doing
They
this?
did take it like that, but I do feel like mildly maybe it kind of worked. They did
And now they're swinging back,
deny things
yeah.
more often after.
It's a
the-
tough job. You know, we have a code says you can do this, you can't do that. People come in, wanna do that. People sitting on that ZBA. It's a lot of pressure there.
Unless everybody else did it.
You know,
That's
No,
your-
that's the
To say it's
Down to Fallbrook
Well,
Park,
yeah.
I mean, it is
nothing but zoning
I'm
variance.
sure that the people feel, geez, you know, I'd like to help this person out, but. You know, that's,
So are you guys?
I agree,
I
oh,
mean,
I
I ask
agree.
you too. Would you, are you okay, would you wanna do that at the next board meeting, or would you prefer a different way to get the message out quickly?
Well. Will anyone from the ZBA be at our board meeting?
No, but we can, you know, we can share that. Or would you rather just have a letter
Read these
written,
minutes.
saying, you know, this concern has come up.
I think that might be a better,
As a member.
it's very direct and very, you
Individual
know.
board members can write a comment or a letter to be included in the record for the application.
Mhm.
Could,
Cause there is a lot of concern by town residents.
Mhm.
Except for, you know, ones
It's okay.
around this table that this is an issue. We are all residents besides the positions that we hold, but. You know, it shouldn't be allowed,
Could be
something
something
like
that
that.
Adler could relay. Hey, the board met, these are the conditions.
That's right, Chris is there.
Chris Chris sits with the zoning board.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, he's there at both meetings. Not
Mhm.
only could he physically give them minutes and.
We
they
could
read
give
the
him,
minutes,
we
but-
could give him the directive, we could have the discussion. Give him the directive to have this conversation with the zoning board. And counsel them that this is what you heard from the town board. And we asked him to share that with them. Okay, you guys like that? Is that okay? That's
Yeah.
good.
I think it keeps it off of staff.
Well, I don't want you guys, no, I wouldn't want you guys to be the,
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't want that,
Otherwise,
yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, so that or which are you more going that route first and then. We can, if it keeps coming back again, we can try something more. More formal.
can I just real quickly, technically, circle back on the generator issue? Has battery technology reached a point where you could have a battery that's already charged in a shed or in a basement or in a closet to replace a generator?
Yes, but, and I say this with a very bold but.
Well, there's an alternative.
New York State Uniform Code is super restrictive on that, and I have been dealing with 2 projects that have proposed that within the RLD. And we've gone back and forth probably a grand total of 10 times because of the amount of labor that's involved in it. Cause you gotta renovate the whole structure. So you gotta create 2-hour firewalls, you gotta create sometimes ventilation requirements, there's operating permit requirement, I mean, the list goes on.
For an electric,
So it's
for an
not-
electric
not
cell, like a solar cell.
practical.
Yeah, so what we call an
Alternative at this point.
ESS, which an
Okay.
ESS is an energy storage system. So
That'd be too easy.
Mhm.
batteries tend to, so that's how we had one person get away with it, is they heard about all that, they're like, what if I put it in a shed? 100 feet away from the house? That works. So their solar panels run from roof of the structure through the transfer switch, everything else. They charge the batteries all the way out there and then it loops all the way back. Granted, it was an exorbitant cost, but he did the cost benefit to say that was cheaper than 2 layers of.
I thought it'd been an easy solution on the way. So.
No, unfortunately not.
I'm reflecting on this conversation about how to address this with,
Yeah.
Doing it with Chris might be too formal.
Okay,
It might be better off if we have a joint meeting. Because I'm sure there are other concerns that people have about everything and anything, right? And maybe we just need to have a open conversation and just kind of talk about things, just I don't know, I just kind of like. I like that approach rather than
Right.
putting it in a letter or.
so you're asking for another meeting. That's typical.
You gotta be there, you.
We can look at that and see. I mean, if that's not gonna be immediate, because we're getting into budget time.
We just had one.
And we just had a joint, we're getting into budget time, we're having our next joint meeting, our next second meeting will be focused on budget workshop. So I mean, it'll roll down the road, but we can put that and have that the next time that we have that in, it's not budget. What do you think?
Well, you said you're gonna have a joint meeting for budget?
No,
What's
the
the-
next second board meeting, typically, if we were to have that joint meeting.
Right,
It would be on that, we'd do it on a second board meeting, you know, whenever we have the double up, the quarterly. Our next scheduled quarterly one is for the budget, so we wouldn't be able to have the joint meeting then.
And if your goal is a joint meeting with the zoning board, you're lucky if you get one at all, zoning board member or two to attend a joint meeting.
Yeah, that was lightly attended by the
Yeah.
UBA at the last meeting.
You might be better. if
Can we go to
zoning
one of
board
theirs?
Goes to the zoning board.
Can we ask for, we could ask for a, next time they have a zoning board meeting.
I'd ask Chris to do what we suggested.
Yeah.
He was running out of gas on this one,
Yeah,
you know, and that's more immediate too.
and he can have that
We go to the
conversation.
next meeting
He
and
can-
say,
he can feel
Hey,
them
I'm
out.
hearing from the town board that they're
Yeah,
interested in,
he can feel them out, and then if I can suggest that we offer that we could come to a zoning board meeting, and if they have a light agenda, then we could just have a joint discussion.
plus he won't step over a legal line either.
Yeah, so I mean, so it sounds like any type of joint get together wouldn't be until we probably till we flip the new year.
That's,
Yeah, I would, at another, one of those joint meetings, it should be a pitch session, but you know,
how do we
what's going on, how do we improve our performance and, you know, working with the residents, you know. I didn't know what to expect at our last meeting.
Yeah,
I was kind of surprised at this future mapping thing. I thought it was gonna be,
yeah, that
Kind of
kind of came
roundtable
up fast.
discussion.
Yeah, and I,
Format was confusing.
okay, so our next meeting is on August 4th. We need to have a motion to adjourn, or did I already hear one?
For me, I'll second it.
All in favor?
right.
Everybody on the 4th.
John, give me a
Sure,
couple minutes, I need to
you,
grab something, I have you sign.
Yes.
Real quick.
did you want to talk at all about the CFA?